Well, this map is not being kind. We have a rather large number of hills here, so despite the fact that it's a large map, none of us want to found, apparently. Yeah. Myself or the two computers. Oh well.
This looks like chaos.
Oh yeah, it's a chaos map, actually. Yeah, it's definitely a chaos map, so I think, well, I may just try and ship in iron, honestly. What am I up against? Robotic and scavenger. Well, okay. Well, I should just get founded and figure it out at some point. Oh, well, I waited. Waited too long. I'll just found down here, actually. I'll ship iron, and then we'll see what I can do from there. Oh, I have another claim left. Shoot. It always throws me off in campaign. Having that extra claim is expansive right off the bat.
Yep.
It's fantastic, but it always confuses me just a little bit.
Right. Yeah, each of the four... each of the four groups in the campaign is supposed to have some extra bonus that you wouldn't have in the regular game. Yeah, exactly. Probably I should come up with something a little more creative for the expansive than just one more claim, considering perhaps they have plenty.
At least it's thematic, though. I mean, it's like, well, you're expansive, you expand a lot, go with it. Now, what I was thinking was maybe robotic might need to get shifted around at some point, because I think they have superconductor and wind turbines right now, which is just kind of awkward.
Well, so I think, to me, I find that could potentially be interesting, because there the idea is now you're actually figuring out where to found your colony according to where some high wind is.
Yeah.
Right? So you have another factor to consider when placing your colony down. You know,
it could be interesting
for the resources.
I'm wondering, would there be a way to toggle on, like, show this type of power, show this type of overlay while you're founding at some point to help out with that decision?
Yeah, I mean, so that's the odd thing about that. Like, normally wind is not something you look into, so no one is really taking the time to, like, give a wind overlay when you're founding. Right. But, you know, there probably should be some just specific hotkey you hit to show that stuff. But yeah, I think I'm committed to keep that one just because it definitely is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I you know, like to see how it plays out. Is that an AB and actually an adrenaline boost, or is it the new one?
That is a slowdown strike. A slowdown strike means the workers go half as fast.
Right.
And triggers tile defense.
It's actually just the exact opposite of an adrenaline boost.
Right.
Like, and actually, if you stack them on top of each other, they basically cancel each other out.
Interesting.
But part of the reasoning there is also in general in this next patch, the scientific will they'll only get their bonus against power surge and EMPs, which is essentially the two
most basic
that freeze you. And so this is, you know, the slowdown strike is another alternative, you know, black market item that can mess up your production. And there was an issue with black market, sort of the black market card draw in beta 4. I imagine by now you kind of noticed that basically power surge, EMPs, network viruses, and adrenaline boosts always show up when you play the game.
Right.
And that wasn't intentional. It's not supposed to be like
Interesting.
They're supposed to show up a little more often, but I was basically testing them out, and the way I test out stuff in the game, to test out black market stuff, is I just jump into the XML and I add a couple extra zeros to their probability, which basically just kind of guarantees they'll show up. But I think what I did is I forgot to take those zeros out when Beta 4 actually shipped.
Gotcha.
So now everything is basically more even. So in Beta 5, you should see an actual random distribution of black market items. Like in this game, for example, you'll see there's just a power surge. So, you know, this game, Scientific would only get their bonus against, you know, one item on the black market.
Right. Okay, it looks like, by the way, has the colony doubled its consumption per building at this point compared to what it was before?
The number itself has doubled, but some under the hood stuff has also adjusted. So
gotcha.
I think on a whole, it will be about the same.
Okay, gotcha.
What will be more different is what's the right way to put this? In the regular game, in the skirmish game, the colony size is now much more tied to the number of players on the map.
Okay.
So in an 8-player game, the colony is going to be a lot bigger. So there'll be a lot more demand than you'd see in a 2-player game.
Right. All right. That's probably for the better. So is it just the colony generally getting bigger, or will the colony also be smaller in those smaller games with only like 2 players?
Yeah, it's just proportional. Basically.
Okay, gotcha. So what level of players on average would we see as the colony is now, if that makes sense? Like, how many players would it take to get the colony as big as it currently is in a normal game? Do you know? Or
oh, sorry, could you ask that again?
How many players, like, what player count would normalize the colony to where it is as the game stands now in a multiplayer game?
Oh, in beta 4?
Yeah.
About 4 players.
Okay, about 4 players. That's kind of what I figured, but...
Yeah, that's always basically my baseline is the 4-player game.
Well, yeah, the 4-player game is the best version of the game, obviously.
We were talking about team colors yesterday, and Dorian, because the white team color is not awesome, and Dorian floated the idea of, well, why don't we just drop the max number of players down to 6? And that solves a bunch of problems.
I mean, I wouldn't have been opposed to it, but the game might have been around too long for that.
Yeah, it's tempting. I don't know. It's sort of one of those can you unring a bell type things. I don't know if we can... I've never seen a game do that without successfully.
I mean, someone's going to be upset about it, right? It's just the way it works.
And I think that for certain, if you have the right personality type, like an 8-player game can be fun.
No, it's true.
It's just that, there's a range of players. There's players who feel like there should be no, randomness involved in their game. No, they prefer there to be very little chaos. And obviously, an 8-player game is just not for them.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because that's all 8-player games are, is straight up chaos. So will Slowdown Strike also affect advanced buildings the way that Adrenaline Boost does, by the way?
Well, yeah, so first of all, Adrenaline Boost now works the way everyone kind of assumed it did originally.
It would, yeah.
Which is that it'll speed up how fast a patent goes and how fast something will launch, and which is nice because then theoretically you could beat someone to a patent that you might not have been able to otherwise. And then yes, Slowdown Strike will, I believe, do the opposite.
Okay, sounds good. So, are there any guaranteed black market effects at this point besides the Goon Squad to kind of go along with that?
Oh, right, yeah. So the Goon Squad, yeah, I think if there's at least 2 items that would trigger a Goon Squad, it's guaranteed to show up.
Okay.
It doesn't always show up, but it seems to me to be pretty unlikely to be a situation where it would never show up.
Right.
Otherwise than that, no. I mean, there's a few that only ever show up in multiplayer. The tile auction will only show up in a game that... in the game where there's at least 4 players or 4 teams. Because having a tile auction in like a 2-player game
would be ridiculous. Yeah, it's just a wasted tile.
So, but beyond that, otherwise, I mean, like the hologram of the spy is only multiplayer. But otherwise than that, it's somewhat more random. And I've been enjoying that as I've been playing random games, and I've been playing campaigns in Beta 5. I think it definitely helps to have a true distribution of black market items.
Right, for sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Because honestly, like EMP and Power Surge, having those available a lot kind of makes sense, but it was a little bit odd having them every single game compared to other black market items that just wasn't the case.
Right. Yeah, like I mean, having piracy and magnetic store is pretty interesting as like a sort of a scare thing for scientific, for example, and they just weren't showing up enough.
Yeah, exactly. Which was so frustrating because it's like, well, these tools are great, except I'm only seeing scientifics for the most part, and so it'd be nice to have tools against them. But it's good we'll be able to see those more often these days. All right, aluminum up to $65. Which that resource, I don't know what it is about that resource these days, but it's just been going nuts in all my multiplayer games. Aluminum. People can't figure out how much aluminum they want ever.
Yeah. It seems like it's never as a reasonable cross. It either totally crashes or it just keeps going up and up and up and no one can figure out why.
Yeah.
It's amusing.
Oh man, campaign games against scavengers are always interesting. They really like attacking. The computer scavenger. He really likes attacking people.
Well, I did. When you played a few days ago, you mentioned how like there was a player that just upgraded, and instead of building stuff, it basically EMP'd you.
Yeah.
It had all these extra claims, and so I had a little thing where they basically won't do that as long as they have claims that are unused. But scavengers are still scavengers.
Well, yeah, of course, of course. It was a bit ridiculous, though. Like, I'm going to consume more life support, and then I need to attack you. We need to do it in that order.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Mutinies all over the place. It's just still a scavenger.
Mm-hmm. One thing I'm having a hard time getting my head around with the campaign is debt. Because, I mean, I really, since really in the campaign, like, you really need to care about, well, I mean, grow the colony. That's a factor that's important and kind of hard to judge. But beyond that, like, your number one priority is really just money.
Yeah.
And debt is bad in that regard, like really bad.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because you're gonna have to pay it back, and you know, if you're paying interest on it during the game, like you're losing huge amounts.
Exactly. It's awful.
So I found myself building a lot more power than I would normally.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing too. I try and make sure I have very, very little debt most of the time in the campaign, just because it does get a little crazy, the amount of money you can lose to debt. No, I'm just going to take that back. Go away.
Well, Luden's looking pretty good.
Yeah, and my got mutinied because that's just life, but you know, it's just the way things work. I'm struggling to make money this game just because I keep getting attacked, and eventually it kind of peters out late most of the time, but right now it's getting a little ridiculous. I was hoping to get one more upgrade in, because that's the interesting thing about Expansive, the way the campaign is built these days, is this idea that, oh yep, mutinied again almost immediately. Pretty much right on the money for that 30-second mark. That's just life. Alright. But it's interesting trying to abuse your advantage as Expansive. It's one reason I don't really mind the extra claim bonus they get right at the start, because obviously as Expansive you have to expand in order to put yourself in a decent spot, and that can be quite difficult to do sometimes in the campaign, especially when you're up against a scavenger who's going to get in the way of you making money all the time.
Yep.
Like this one, I think, has just used his black market 3 times on the dot to mutiny people.
It's funny that it seems that well timed, because the algorithm that looks for when it happens is somewhat random.
Interesting.
Like, you know, maybe like it's like basically every second it rolls like a 1d20, right? And if it rolls a 0, it checks to see whether it should hit someone.
Right.
I've seen some amusing things happen though that are kind of eerie. Like in one game with the Magnetic Storm, like I had, I think I was scientific, and I had some glass or electronics that were just like 4 or 5 tiles away from my base, and I really needed the money for some reason. Either I was going for an upgrade or build an Offworld, or it was in the campaign, and I needed to buy 1 more share of stock to beat the other guy, and so I forced shipped all of my glass. And then they got immediately destroyed by Magnetic Storm, and it was a weird feeling. It definitely felt like something that a person would do.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, that's the kind of play you make to win games, right? It's just the way it works. That's why I'm actually with Magnetic Storms. That's why I'm interested to see more Magnetic Storms and Pirates, because there are times when people will force ship those things all at once in a response. Or another option, honestly, is to, like, if you've got access to a Power Surge and a Magnetic Storm, well, I'm just going to Power Surge you or EMP you, and that's going to ship all your resources, because it does automatically right now, as far as I know.
Oh, wow.
And then you just Magnetic Storm it.
You could combine the two. Wow,
oh, yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Yeah.
Well, you just have to think more deviously now, apparently.
I'm trying to think through whether that's a bug or a feature.
Yeah, exactly, right? That's always the trick, isn't it? Yeah, I didn't know if you'd be happy about that one, but on the other hand, it's probably better you know about it now so you can make the decision. Yeah.
I mean, it relies on a combination of things, so I think it's fine. I like it when people are able to use combos like that. Like, what I like now is the whole adrenaline boost slash goon squad baiting, you know, of like, you know, someone pulls on the adrenaline boost, and you know the obvious thing is to put your goon squad right in the middle of it, right? So you know, can you tempt people to you know to nail you when you do that?
Yeah. And sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't when you do some kind of weird things with the goon squads. That's always just a bit of a mind game, honestly. Goon squads are just such a swingy feature in a lot of ways, though. This idea of, well, either you're going to do a lot of damage or you're going to give me a huge advantage.
Right.
One way or the other. I've always wondered about that. But on the other hand, goon squads can get expensive very, very quickly in these games. So,
right.
Well, there's that magnetic storm.
Yeah, I mean, myself, if the goon squads are relatively speaking the same price as everything else, I'll basically always buy goon squad. Because they always seem to pay for themselves.
Eventually, yeah. Just long term.
I mean, either you pick up another black market item, or it just, you know, continually helps defend you. The best is when it blocks a power surge, right?
Yeah.
Like,
you know, obviously, but man, this guy took my water tile that I really, really needed. Oh well.
Oh, he just claimed.
It's very sad. I'm not doing so well this game, and it's mostly because sabotage, but that's all right.
Yeah. Do you have anything under your steel mills?
No, I don't, which is sad. I mean, I had just this water patch next to me, but it was a chaotic map, and there just wasn't a whole lot going on in general.
Yeah, so the question is, should you have just put your steel mills on top of that water so that you reserved it for yourself or not?
Yeah. I probably should have put
I'm starting to try to do that more and more. You know, like, I think there's a tendency where you're like, oh, I want to save those spots for myself later, but, like, you know, scrapping your steel mills is not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and
changing around your steel is so cheap compared to anything else.
Yeah.
Alright, let's see what I can do here. Unfortunately, all his water is all linked up to his base. It's quite rude.
Wow, water is going to be expensive going into the next turn.
Oh yeah, it's going to be amazing.
It's starting at 100. Well, I mean, that's interesting because the farms are not really a great... I mean, are your farms even making you money right now?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, not a whole lot, just $40 a piece, but...
Yeah.
I could have swapped out one more for water, but it's the last day, 15 hours, so I'm just kind of not worrying about it.
Yeah, one thing I have a hard time with the campaign is, like, when you get to the last day, it's hard to... You know, it's like, it's almost an unsolvable problem. Like, it's hard to have an interesting decision in the last day because you're not going to be deleting your buildings or really even upgrading on the last day, because what's the point? But on the other hand, there has to be an end somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. The game has to end someday.
I'd like an idea that makes it somewhat random, you know, like there's a 50% chance that every day it might end or something like that, but I don't know. I haven't been able to think through the right way to do that.
Yeah. And that does make things kind of awkward, trying to plan them out, you know, just... I don't know. Like, in a normal game, it just makes sense because the end happens, well, as it naturally happens.
Right.
But in the campaign, I don't know how you work that into the campaign appropriately.
Yeah. Well, part of the reason the campaign works like this is it solved once it went to a timed mode, it solved a lot of other problems. Like one of the things I was always worried about in the campaign is if it was if you were using the stuff you got during the mission in future missions, then it kind of like leads to that you're tempted to do that situation where you know you've bought out two of the other players and there's one left, and you're kind of like you're just kind of leaving them alive. Leaving them alive just to like extend the length of the mission, just so you can get as much money as possible, right? And that's not really useful for anything, right? I mean, that's just not good gameplay.
Yeah, exactly.
So you might want to mouse over growth. Oh, because I'm 10 seconds behind. You might want to mouse over the growth round to see what the price of glass and electronics is.
Yeah.
You may have already
right now, I'm kind of wondering. There's no cancel option. What if I want my silicon engineer?
Oh,
you know,
gotta make a choice.
Because now I don't have elemental quarries, and I can't acquire them. I can't get silicon now.
Yep.
I have absolutely no way to acquire silicon or carbon this round. All of a sudden, that's why I was looking for a cancel button, because I was like, actually, I'm kind of good. Oh well. That's interesting though. So is that just a random thing, but out of all your
event that happens between turns? Yeah.
Okay.
There are certain things it'll test for. All right, so what do you got? You got habitat colony. That can be nice because then you can just focus on, you can kind of very much decide whether it's going to be an office or a workshop or whatever. And what's the other one? It's a patent lab. Okay, so that means everyone gets an option to build a patent lab.
Habitat colony. So what does habitat colony do in particular?
It means the colony will start with like 5 habitat modules.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's rough game.
And it awards faster research. I don't know if I'm interested in, but... And so patent lab is everybody starts with a patent lab? Or...
Right.
Okay.
No, sorry, it doesn't start with. Everyone is able to build a patent
lab.
Oh,
is able to build a patent lab, sorry, yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I like having these things mixing these up in general.
Yeah, I should mention research is going to be lower in Beta 5, the research bonus. It's now just a very straightforward 25, 50, 75, 100.
Okay. That's probably for the best. Yeah. Instead of it scaling ridiculously in the late game.
What I'm curious about is why it took... I mean, obviously at this point, in Beta 4 is definitely going kind of the age of the engineering lab, which is fine. If there's one building that I think it's fine if you always build anyway, I think it would be that one, because it's still, just because you build it, then you got to make choices anyway, right? But what I'm interested about is like nothing really changed about it since Beta 1. Why did it take this long for people to really start focusing on the engineering
Well, the big thing that changed about it, I think still, is it wasn't about any of the buildings changing. It was about the hacker array got nerfed significantly, so you didn't have to build that at HQ level 3 anymore in order to actually win a game. And then B, prices got much higher, so there was a lot more room to fiddle about with the supply side, rather than basically building only the hacker array or the off-world market in order to increase the demand side of things. So I think that was the big difference that occurred there, honestly.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I've also lowered the starting price of hacking a little bit.
Yeah.
Went back to the original 2,000. I mean, I would love to see, the engineering lab and hacker array get somewhat into equilibrium. So, I think we're in kind of this like fine-tuning stage now, where even if you get it wrong by just a little bit, you end up in a situation where it just means everyone builds engineering lab. So, it's going to be difficult to get it just exactly right.
Now, unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention to prices appropriately, and so I've got a bit of a silly found, but we'll see if we can make it work, regardless.
Well, the water is worth a decent amount.
Yeah, the water right next to me is worth plenty. But I probably should have taken a little extra aluminum.
Oh yeah, starting at 61. Oh, that looks pretty good.
Well, and glass is up at 200, so it's not like I'm expanding anytime soon unless I build a glass furnace.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason to just lean glass instead of electronics when I got that particular upgrade earlier.
All right, so remember, since you have an metal core, you don't want to buy up as much silicon and carbon as you can right now.
That's true. Interesting. Let's see. Yeah, if I can just buy a bunch of silicon, that would be quite helpful.
I mean, theoretically, you sort of need to buy enough to upgrade your colony 4 times, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Because long term, if you don't have a source of silicon, I don't think you can really make glass your permanent.
Exactly.
Solution. Eventually, you'll price yourself out of the market.
Hopefully, food will work well. That was part of the idea of going for the habitat colony, is just to see how different it is, because it was an interesting idea. Oh, good, mutinied already, and now I have access to the black market. That's always one of the more frustrating things. Just in the game in general, when you get hit before you had the option to do anything about it whatsoever. I really don't need to be selling aluminum right now.
One small detail I'd like to mention is that I spent some time on the ship all and delete all, so that it'll do the reasonable thing when you are going to delete all of your iron mines, and instead it deletes all of your iron and aluminum mines. So now it'll try to be intelligent about that.
Okay.
If you do delete all, just like I said, if you do delete all on your iron mines, it'll only delete iron mines. it'll leave your aluminum mines alone. And the same thing for ship all.
Okay.
If you do ship all of iron, it won't ship your aluminum.
What about for powering off a building? Will that be the same thing? Not sure.
No, that's good. That's a good question.
Because that's the thing I use most frequently, and it keeps biting me, is I power off my iron mines, and then all of a sudden my aluminum's not coming in anymore, and it's like, ah, well, that was a problem.
Okay, well, that's easy. I mean, once I've got the algorithm, it's easy to extend it to that too.
Right, so, exactly. That's what I figured. So. I love Falcon Hit poking fun at the computer over there. I found it in a patch of aluminum. I'll just take that aluminum way over there. Which, in all fairness, it was a high aluminum that he took, so it's, maybe it's all right, but...
Yeah, this is one of the things I've had a hard time... Like, I think I can get the AI to found what is a good spot, but the high-level thing of like why it chose to found in a location does not really carry over to what it then decides to do with it, right? So that's why you see this kind of weird schizophrenic behavior, where a human would never do that, right?
Right.
Like they wouldn't found in the aluminum then to claim it. So it's basically like it founds there because it's like, oh, this could be really valuable. But then it says, okay, when I'm looking for a metal mine, claim the best aluminum on the map. That's not completely way in the middle of nowhere. So yeah.
One difficult thing about glass being so expensive, it's very hard to put down farms all of a sudden.
Yep.
I'm just going to do this so I can get to this.
Yeah, it's going to be an issue. I imagine that the AI is going to have a very difficult time doing that as well, so I expect that price of food is just going to keep going up.
The AI went and mutinied away my aluminum immediately at the start of this game, so he's been making good money off that the whole time. At least the scavenger has. Did
Gamma Sabotage start with a mutiny? That might be one of their perks.
He has EMP, Dynamite, and a mutiny, yes.
Yeah.
So he just used it as soon as he had access to it, I guess.
Yeah.
An interesting thing the AI doesn't do, it seems most of the time, is it really ignores the colony for a long time. That's what it feels like. It can make it difficult to get the colony to actually grow for any period of time.
Right. Yeah. In the first missions, I actually feel like you should really make a priority on growing the colony, even if you're going to end up losing the mission, because it's going to pay off so much, for the rest of the campaign.
Yeah, that's something I've always tried to do, is grow the colony whenever I actually have the option to do so. Let's see. Well, the AI might just kill me for this, but we'll try it anyway. So I'm trying to think through. You were talking about teams earlier. Do you have any... AI just bought housing. Ugh. I hate the AI sometimes. Anyway, you were talking about teams earlier. So what's the situation with teams in the office, I suppose? Like, what are thoughts surrounding what you're doing with teams and what options you have for teams, or what you're trying to do in the game to make teams more available, that kind of thing?
You mean team game?
Yeah, team games. Just team play easier for the community to actually participate in.
I mean, I assume the major issue there is team chat.
Right, exactly. It's going to be a big one.
The main issue is that everything that involves the UI is sort of like in a very difficult spot development-wise, because basically right now Scott is our UI programmer and Jim, our UI artist, is basically rewriting the whole UI using an entirely different system.
Gotcha.
So everything that needs to be done to make the game better in the UI has to be measured against, well, is it more important for them to fix this issue, or is it more important for them to try to get that UI rewrite done as soon as possible? And that's generally what we're favoring, is trying to get the thing rewritten. The text that's coming across the wire right now is just purely text, right? Like there's it has no context about even who it came from, right? So, the system needs to be changed. It's not something that's a huge deal. It would just take a day or two to do, but right now they really got to focus on redoing the UI. So, but it is really kind of silly that we haven't we don't have team chat in at this point. I won't pretend otherwise. I mean, beyond that, I mean, I'm generally speaking happy with how the team game works. It's just, I think the biggest issue is communication issues.
Yeah.
Market is online.
And we're gonna have 2v2 quick matches, but again, we'll probably need a lot more people to support that.
Yeah. Although it does sound enjoyable at some point. I've always been interested in 2v2, but I've never really played it much just because, well, for the fairly obvious reason that it's hard to communicate with people. Also, one thing I've been noticing, I think since last patch, is auto supply has not been as cooperative as one might expect. Like, I'm sitting here, this steel mill is hooked up, and for several seconds it just sits there going, needs iron, and I'm sitting here going, I've got the cash, just buy the iron you need.
Sure. Well, okay, so this is sort of a judgment call, perhaps, but one thing I noticed does happen is if you're really riding the line closely, in that you don't have a sort of excess cash lying around, and you're relying on auto supply for a bunch of your buildings, which is kind of often the case for players like us. Oh man, that's you got a lot of stuff going on with those farms.
Yep.
The black market is online.
What'll happen often is you'll sell a big chunk of glass or something, right? You'll get like $5,000, but then that $5,000 will disappear immediately, right? Because it'll basically instantly turn that into water or silicon or something else, right?
Right.
So I added a timer in beta 5 where basically for every time you do a manual sell, it will stop auto supplying for 5 seconds to give you a chance to use that money for something else if you want to. Okay. So it sounded pretty good in my head when I did it, but at the same time it's just one of those things where sometimes that's what you want it to happen, and that sometimes you literally sell stuff because you want a building to start.
Exactly. I've definitely had that issue sometimes, and it helps explain why it would last for so long. Like, yeah. I'm selling, because the basic idea is, like, do you think you don't have enough money for this? What's the issue here? And all right.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could make it shorter. I could make it so that it just buys it in smaller increments. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I can think about it some more. I mean, we may just try it out for this patch and see how it goes.
Right.
I mean, you should know that if you're in that situation and you're selling steel to buy iron, just sell the steel and buy iron, right?
Right, exactly.
In that sense, you're sort of cutting out the middleman. But if people find it annoying, I mean, at the very least, we can always just turn it back to the way it used to be.
Yeah, exactly. Well, do I take this? Yeah, I take this upgrade. That's fine. It's interesting trying to figure out upgrades when you can't pull in the $130 silicon, but glass is up at $330. Those magnetic storms, those got a bit of a change to animation at some point, didn't they?
Yep.
I like it. Art. It's fancier. All right. Man, if only I could network virus these things, these solar panels. It's really dumb. I want to network virus solar panels. So that's an interesting thing that people primarily use network virus for these days.
To do
in
what?
A lot of play, to just make it so you can't change out your unprofitable building and you can't turn it off.
Yeah.
Do you like that gameplay, or is it something you would like to change in the future? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I do like that gameplay.
Okay.
I just think it's weird and different, and if you catch someone napping with some bad buildings, you can make them pay.
Right.
So. And I don't know. I mean, it's the moments when it gets you bad are pretty painful. Like there's no doubt about it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad feature.
Gotcha. Well, it's interesting because sometimes what'll happen with it is, like, if you move into glass furnaces and you're up against like a really strong player like Qubit, what he'll do is, yeah, your glass furnaces are making you $40 a second right now.
Sure.
But nobody's really pulling in all that much silicon. You don't have a lot of spare silicon sitting around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit my $100,000 to buying up silicon, and I'm going to network virus your glass furnaces. And so your two options are to sit there and burn $50 to $100 a second, or you can freeze your own buildings to counter this network virus. which I've done, like, actually several times when I've gotten network virused like that.
Yeah.
That's the only counterplay is I'm going to freeze my own building.
The black market is
yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm still kind of sitting it through, trying to think about it.
I'm not saying it should go away. Like, I'm not trying to throw that out there. I'm just saying that
here's
it's
the thing.
complicated
Like,
and interesting.
If there's anything on the black market that hurts and hurts in a weird, unusual way that nothing else does, like that's good. Like that's what you want on the black market.
Right.
The main thing is you just don't want anything on the black market that that just is completely unbalanced, and there's kind of no way to recover if someone hits you with that. If someone hits you with the EMP, you just have you gotta wait it out, right? Like
right.
But at the very least, it's not losing you money. But that the thing that Qubit does, that requires a significant investment on his part.
It does for a long time because he has to keep it there.
Right. And in a 4-player game, I almost couldn't even see the network virus being another thing that I would only allow in games with more than 2 players, right?
Right.
Because in a 4-player game, I think what Qubit's doing sounds pretty interesting, right? Because sure, he's driving up the price of silicon, but he's got to make sure that there isn't a 3rd player who's going to profit from that, right? I don't know.
It's an interesting problem. I don't even know if it is a problem, but it's an interesting situation. Well, at least my glass is making me money now. Kind of a ridiculous amount of it, actually. It's weird. Gamma Sabotage has managed to move himself into a D bond rating with $220,000 of debt, which is actually really comforting and something I should try and do against scavengers a bit more these days. Apparently, that are computers.
What did he do? Sorry, I missed that.
He's in a D bond rating, so he can't buy black market.
He can't buy anything.
And the game has calmed down significantly from this development.
Oh, good thing. You want to keep him there then. I wonder how he got there. Did he bid on the auction?
I don't think he's built a single source of power this entire game.
Oh,
is what he's gone and done. So,
Power's not expensive, though.
No. No. Well, this player, you can see the expansive player, he's got a hexagon of water down and then like 6 solar panels.
Wow, so that's just all he's doing, basically.
Yep. Selling water and power. And somehow he's making money out of all of this. Well, he's got some steel down, some glass down, some food down. I guess it's enough.
Black market is online.
An interesting situation for sure. I don't know if I'm actually going to take this one. I don't think I am. Gamma Sabotage is making enough money despite his debt situation. It looks like he's going to go ahead and take this game. Mostly off of what? I guess it's just off silicon. No, silicon's tanked. Where's all your money coming from? He's making chems, he's making food. It's always interesting when this happens, because it feels like the AI ended up just stockpiling money for a long time. It's almost what it feels like, and then they just blow it all very suddenly.
Well, yeah, basically when it gets to the last day, their mindset definitely changes, where they
Gotcha.
just start selling. They're more willing to just essentially control shift down to buy up shares. So they're going to be playing games, which I kind of like this feeling. We get to the campaign where you think you're doing well, and then just suddenly, just starts, coming after you, buying up shares one after the other after another. And I've had games where like I've really like thrown away tons of money trying to get that first place one, where I would have been better off just being like, okay, I'll just take second place and save myself $300,000-$400,000.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. Man, this guy has $360,000 of debt.
So right now you're probably going to need at least 150 to beat him.
Whoa. Okay, that's not what I wanted to buy. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to need like 150,000, yes, to beat him. I don't know if that's going to happen.
And what's the benefit? What's the perk for this one?
I'm trying to remember. Is it listed
research?
anywhere?
It lists
faster research. Yeah, I don't even know if I care about faster research. It's just kind of is what it is. So maybe I do just let it go in this case.
Yep.
Go ahead and lose this one to this
Market is online.
player who has almost $400,000 of debt. That's what he's sitting at right now. Let's see. I would need to make 2 purchases to tie it, and he's almost got another buy anyways afterward. So it's probably not worth it, because it would end immediately when he got to the next buy, correct?
Right.
Yeah, probably not worthwhile to try and press to that then. He's too close to it. Despite the fact that it doesn't look like he's making a whole lot of money right now. He is pulling in something from somewhere. Alright, Gamma Sabotage wins that round with its $6 stock price. Oh, computers. Sometimes you do very silly things. On the other hand, we've seen GameSlayer win like that fairly recently with $1 million in debt almost. So, it just is what it is. I can acquire the rights to a patent for the next 2 turns.
I see some people are mentioning the magnetic storm. There was a bug in beta 4 where they're often just basically doing the magnetic storm in 0.0. It should be fixed in beta 5.
Oh, which issue was that?
Oh, well, basically just exactly that. The AI would just put the magnetic storm always in the bottom left corner. It was just I forget what it was doing, but it was like looking at the wrong information basically to decide where to go.
I would have to play with the AI more often to notice that.
Yeah, now it's much better.
Let's see. Actually don't know which one of these would be better in general. I guess I can check prices. Power's up at 126. Prices. Fuel's at 161 though, so maybe I'll just take water engine for now. Because water's down at 25.
Mm-hmm. So that'll mean you'll want to keep water cheap if you can.
Well, I can buy back my elemental quarry engineer if I want to, but I don't know if I want to spend my 1 purchase per turn, because it's still just 1 purchase per turn, like 1 permanent one, right?
Right. So here's an interesting one. Like it's do you just go for the can you go for the off-world market and try and make a whole bunch of money, 1 level, or but then you forfeit the right to get a permanent upgrade.
Right.
I mean, I think without the core, you kind of have to go for the permanent upgrade, but.
Yeah, I feel like I need to go for a permanent upgrade of some sort. Man, I can long-term go for faster launches here if I want to. Also, where is... Gamma Sabotage has managed to recover his stock price quite nicely and still manages to have $87,000 left over right now, despite having $400,000 of debt to pay off. That's impressive.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised he just doesn't have debt sitting around after that mission, but oh well.
Well, we're on round 3, so you're getting 2 turns of income. Everyone is.
Yeah. It's fair. It's fair. I mean, my income is 377.
Yeah. So
but still, that didn't cover his debt, for sure.
Yeah. And it's possible he had money left over from last turn.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if everyone gets to the point where I actually give people the full breakdown on all the other corporations. I mean, it's just, I'm not sure if that's useful information or not.
Yeah.
One thing that's in the game, but it doesn't really show up on the map anywhere, is if you mouse over the income, you'll see you get extra bonus if you're... Okay, you don't have it. There are actually adjacencies on Mars of the missions that are close to each other, and you get a $50,000 income bonus if you choose missions that are if you are the winner of 2 locations that are connected.
Interesting.
Right now we're not drawing the line, so it's essentially impossible to tell. But just so you know.
But I can make a guess.
I mean, Tharsis, Montes, and Syria Planum are probably next to each other. I mean, what's the one that you control?
I control Xanth Terra, which unfortunately I don't think...
Yeah, it doesn't look close to any of them.
...is close to any of them. This one, Val's Merit... I don't even want to try and pronounce it. There's one right next to it that kind of looks open, but it looks like Sigma Launch.
I think that's the white player color that we need to get rid of.
Yeah, that one. Because that white player color is just kind of awkward.
Yeah.
So, what does West Wind do as a mission modifier? Similar to the one that says Patent Lab or the Habitat Colony situation.
West Wind means there's be a wind blowing from the west. So if your ships are flying from west to east, they'll go fast. And if they're flying from east to west, they'll go slow.
Interesting.
So that means, if there's a west wind, what that means is, you don't want you'd want your best base. You want your HQ to be on the east side of the map, not on the west side of the map.
Right. Now, would there also be an increased chance for something like dust storms on a map like that, or is it just
you'll get better wind power?
Okay,
sure.
Better wind power for sure as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there some consideration for adding tooltips to these later so we can kind of...
Yeah, this whole thing needs to get, I mean, the thing is, I come up with ideas. The last time...
Well, you come up with ideas, you shove them in the game, and then you figure out how to tell people about them, I assume.
Exactly. All people need to do is watch every Twitch stream I've ever done.
Obviously.
Videos, and then it's very easy to figure out when. But not one of the older ones, because that's...
that's just confusing, obviously. Watch the right ones.
You have to watch them in linear order and take notes. So that's the best way to keep track of how the game works.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead, I guess. I feel like I almost need an elemental quarry engineer back. I'm just going to look at it as a bright side. I got a cheaper glass furnace guy. That's just how I'm going to look at it, and I'll feel better. But then I don't think I'm actually going to spend money on anything else. We'll just try and make this work. So I'm going to go on the West Wind map because even though it gives 2 core samples, which I kind of already have, that bonus,
have you been using your core samples?
Yes, I actually used them last mission. I got nothing out of them, but I used them. That's so tempting just to found on right now, and I'll figure everything else out later.
Yeah, they're awesome if you're scientific. Less so, I think, for everyone else.
We will have the first factories up and running in no time.
Yeah, for scientific, they're pretty incredible. For everybody else, they're kind of, well, maybe this will do something helpful. Maybe not. Guess we'll just find out. So glass is still super expensive. Let's see, can I actually... So I almost wish I could... Nah, that would probably be too easy. It's interesting scrolling over to try and figure out how much money the game thinks you're going to make for each building. But I don't know if I actually mind that being there. Like, yeah, it's a pain, but maybe you could just figure it out on your own instead of relying on the game to tell you, so deal with it. Maybe that's just the mean side of me talking.
Well, the thing is, you get, it's nice to show that number, but you have to also be able to see past that number of like,
exactly.
Okay, so the glass says this, but I don't have a source of silicon, and there's not a lot of silicon on the map, so it's gonna, I'm gonna price myself out of this resource pretty quickly.
Exactly.
So you can't just go for what's the highest number.
Exactly. Well, we're almost to an upgrade fairly quickly this time, at least. I don't know if throwing down power was actually the right call, but it felt good to just have a solar power down and not have any debt coming.
Yep.
Alright, let's grab that silicon. I guess we can just push steel down for the rest of it. Well, maybe I go into a little extra power first.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious what happens to robots in this patch, in that they almost, the only way they can get debt, period, is through auctions.
Really?
Yeah, because they have 0 life. Well, okay, that's not true.
They have power, don't they?
Power,
yeah,
of course.
It's
but,
like,
I mean, if you're robotic, you don't build power, like you're,
But yeah, they have 0 life support now, don't they? They've just got their upgrades cost electronics, and that's it.
Yeah. Which is originally the way they were originally. Like, that was the whole point of them to begin with. And so it could very well be, and I think Cupid's argued that robotic will actually be even weaker in Beta 5. But, it's okay. I just want to realign them with a more clear, like a more clear bonus, right? This is the no life support faction, right? And if we need to give them other bonuses, to bring them up to par with the other HQs, that's fine. But I want that to be their thing, right?
Right. That is an interesting thing, though, to do. Just the no life support idea. Because you kind of got the idea of it with, okay, your life support is electronics, but it wasn't exactly quite there yet, so it's interesting just going directly to that. Where do you think robotic's at, or what kind of changes do you think you might have to make to robotic in order to bring it in line with those other colonies?
Well, right now I'm not too worried about it. I mean, the biggest problem is if one of the factions is overpowered as opposed to one of them being underpowered. So I kind of just want to see what people do with them with no life support. If they need to get, there's so many ways they could be buffed, right? Like we could make their We can make it so they require less steel and aluminum to upgrade, right?
Right.
We could make it so they. I mean, there's just there's no end to the question is what's the appropriate thing to do for them,
Right.
And so when they are played, they, I'm hoping that people will find success with them being able to piggyback off of, okay, people have forgotten to build power, so we're going to make some money off of power, or even we're going to make some money off of food because a bunch of people are not building farms and they're just taking on debt, and I'm going to take advantage of that.
Right.
So I don't know, but we'll see.
All right then. Some metal mine engineer auction. I never have any idea how to value these at this point.
Yeah.
Although
Well,
somehow I
because
doubt it's worth $46,000, but
Well, you would have paid $100,000 for it before the mission began, right?
it's fair. But it's only for one mission in this case. And
Well,
yeah,
no,
it would have been,
you would have paid
100,000 would have
100,000.
been, but I didn't pay 100,000 for that before the mission, that kind of thing.
Right.
And on top of that, okay, 96,000. Well, you've guaranteed, or sorry, 94,000.
Right.
You have guaranteed
gonna
paid
take a lot.
more than 100,000 for that now,
Right.
because of all the debt and such. But yeah, I'm just gonna switch these back around.
So it's funny. Like I think 94,000 is definitely too much, but on the other hand, like I think it's a lot more than players might. The
Might
correct
value it.
value is a lot more than players might think.
Right. I missed it. Are we back to calling it adrenaline boost rather than?
Yeah, I'm switching it back.
Okay. It was an interesting name. It was a long name.
Yeah, it just it just wasn't. It was just hard to say.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay. I guess we can go with this word, but it's a little awkward. Doesn't really roll off the tongue too well.
Yeah.
Steel shortage. Of course there's a steel shortage. I moved out of steel. It's like the best way to guarantee there's going to be a shortage.
It's kind of weird to have 3 expansives.
Yes, it is.
They're all kind of doing the same stuff, I would guess. So.
Well, kind of, except this guy doesn't know what adjacency bonuses are, and this guy, well, he's got like 2, 2, 2, but then he's got 3 solar panels down, so he's just going to wreck all of us. Because he's managed to push to 2 upgrades somehow.
The price is still going up.
Oh, he has food shipments rolling in, which are just amazing right now. So that's how he got his massive advantage.
Yeah.
And now none of the rest of us can upgrade because of this steel shortage that's going on. I'll tell you what, I'll just... So I don't know if this mission's going to work out too well, because I always, like, the shipments are always fantastic if you can get a hold of them. You can actually win the missions for them, and that's going to be even more true now that resources are going to be so much more valuable on average, rather than resetting all the time. So it'll be interesting trying to judge exactly how valuable all those are as time goes on. Alright, well, let's do some of that.
They're really investing in the colony quickly.
Well, they have all this money laying around at this point.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to an upgrade before actually investing in the colony at this point, because I'm only back on HQ level 2, but it has not been an easy time after that steel shortage in particular. There we go.
Worker morale is at an all-time high.
I was hoping to
Thanks
make
the
power
increased
work for me. That's
productivity.
not going to be the case this time.
We'll be able to ship more industries off Earth in no time.
All
The
right.
thing about this campaign is that, I mean, I'm trying to make it better every patch.
Of course, of course.
And I think generally speaking, it's been getting better. But I also can't help think that, like, man, it would be so much fun to play a multiplayer campaign.
Well, yeah, of course. I think that's been thrown
because-
out there since the campaign first existed, in its basic early stuff.
Because the choices are pretty meaty if you consider that there's other humans on the end. But it's just, frankly speaking, it's just beyond the resources of what our team can do. And it will matched with the question mark of, like, totally unknown how many people would actually play a multiplayer campaign. Right?
Exactly. I think the closest thing I can compare it to, off the top of my head, though, is Blood Bowl.
Okay.
And how they do their... They have a long-term match that you can do. You can see in chat right now, people are actually kind of excited about this idea of campaign. But what I'm seeing is, or what I see from the campaign is this idea of having it kind of similar to a multiplayer Blood Bowl situation, from what I understand it to be. It's been a long time since I played one of those, so maybe I'm a little bit off base here. But this basic idea of you have a team in that game that you constantly improve and you kind of make money so that you can do better things and your players level up and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's a long, expansive thing. And players do participate in that. You know, that definitely gets some activity going. So it might be something that people actually do.
Yeah. The issue would be like essentially you'd have to have people doing concurrent different games at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And so you definitely get a situation where well, I guess it's timed, so the games would basically finish at the same time, which is nice. But I don't know.
Well, and you can sometimes just trust the player to take care of handling a lot of that themselves, as long as you don't make everybody stick around for the duration of the whole thing, right? Then if people can leave and come back, and people can be like, all right, well, we're just going to make sure we clean up our round today, and then we'll do the next round tomorrow, and things like that. I don't know. It could be interesting. Or you can just sit down for a 3-hour session.
Yeah, I mean, I think you need people basically to be completely dedicated to it. And what I fear is that, just from my own experience of, organizing tournaments, I mean, it's if one player disappearing basically scuttles the whole thing. I mean, it's just...
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the solutions for that is to set it up as only a custom game thing. Like people can only... And it's so much harder to actually sell down water these days.
Yeah.
Because suddenly, if I sell down all my water, the game refuses to buy up water for me anymore, for my buildings. Anyways. But if you set it up so that players just have to organize their own things in particular, then I don't know. It could work. But obviously it is a bit of a task.
Yeah.
Getting all that.
I mean, the main thing is, from our point of view, we're trying to focus on putting our resources into stuff that would make the core game as good as possible. All the essentials for making a modern RTS game. Which is a good multiplayer game, a good skirmish game, a good campaign, a good robust matchmaking and leagues and rankings and stuff like that. And if we can get all that stuff working, maybe down the road someday we can think about this stuff, which I would totally love to play a multiplayer campaign. It's just a question of
when it could get done.
I can't justify the resources. Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's understandable because it does seem like it would be an awful lot of work to get that kind of thing done.
Yeah. Wow. Delta Stock is just. Are you just deciding to focus on making money this game?
I wasn't necessarily at first. On the other hand, their name is Delta Stock, so one would think that's what they're up to. But you'll notice how they're back on HQ level 2. They're not making a whole lot of money anymore. One would think. They may be. Yeah. They may fall flat at this point. Yeah. But yeah, they already have 9 shares. Yeah, they have a significant chunk of that colony. I assume they just bought up a whole lot of habitats while they could. Yeah, it was just a bunch of habitats, because that's what the computer does. It doesn't care about growing the colony ever, is what it feels like. It wants to buy habitats, all the time. That's all it ever likes to do. Alright, well, what can I do from here to actually maybe have a shot at winning this game? Well, glass is kind of okay, maybe. The perk is not... The perk is not that big a deal, no. So as long as I'm making money, it's okay. I think you should focus on making sure you get a reasonable amount from the colony, and then focus on trying to make money. And where could you make the most money? Well, I mean, can you get more silicon? Well, not immediately, but long term maybe. If I get to an upgrade, the problem is upgrades cost like $100,000 right now. Oh yeah, because of glass. Jeez. I hate those filthy bandits. Alright, but glass is at least making good money. Steel will be making adequate money. Oh good, a silicon shortage. I put down glass furnaces. Of course there's a silicon shortage. Mm-hmm. Oh man. Cubit has... Soren, what rank am I? Alright, I'll look it up. Because I did look at the leaderboard today, and Cubit has the most... Oh, Cubit has been working on that? Yeah, maybe, once you give people a yardstick, they start to... Well, yeah, of course. And he has the most interesting record because he is still undefeated, which is an accomplishment because I think there's some bugs in quick matches where if there's a bad if you get some sort of weird disconnection issue, you might get a loss credited to you that you didn't earn. Yeah. Yeah, but he is currently 24-0. That's impressive.
Yeah, and he is number 7. He's one. He is one level below Game Slayer, who is 33 and 8.
Scrub, do better. Come on, Cubit. Oh man, water shortage. Alright, fine, be that way. I'll just make you some more water then, I guess. I was hoping to get to an expansion. There it is, finally.
All I know is I do probably feel sorry for the new players who bought the game the last couple days who decided to go play quick match and.
Oh, and Cubit was there. Yeah, of course. Well, at least that's a good display of, because you still have some people throw it out there. I don't see what there is, like, the game's easy or some nonsense like that. Then they run into Cubit, and it's like, oh, actually, the game has a lot of details to it, actually, that maybe you need to work on figuring out. Just a thought. Alright. What to do with the rest of this nonsense? I have 3 claims left, and I have no idea what to do with them. Because I keep wanting to move into additional things, and...
Is that an adrenaline boost?
No, it's a slowdown strike.
Okay. I was going to say, boost your silicon.
Which I've already used a couple... Well, yeah, exactly, right? It's like, take silicon... Actually, that's what I'm going to do with this stupid black market, and just get myself some more silicon coming in.
Is someone shipping silicon? They got pirates.
I got a mutiny for that, so it's fine.
Okay.
I could have pirated it as well, but a mutiny, I think, will actually bring me more silicon faster with the adjacency bonuses I'm getting, so hopefully that'll work out.
I hate those filthy bandits.
All right.
Odin writes, are you planning on adding an 8-player matchmaking? Definitely not. It's just definitely, well, at least for right now. I mean, who knows? Maybe someday. But I mean, right now there's definitely not enough players to support 8-player matchmaking. And beyond that, I'm not really a fan of the 8-player game. I think it's just a little too crazy. But anyway, I'm glad you like it. And I'm glad people play it. But I think the truth is, if you had quick match on 8 players, you'd probably be waiting, you know, an hour before 8 players were there. At which point, some of the people probably would have given up. So there's a reason why we chose 1v1 as our sort of default quick match right at the beginning.
The black market is
Maybe eventually you'll have a player base where you could do it. You never know. That's kind of the interesting thing about making a game that not a lot of people play at first, and you have to kind of convince them, hey, come try this out and enjoy it.
Yep.
I'm kind of curious, do you have any ideas on how to get people past that initial hump of even giving the game a shot once they've heard about it? This basic idea of, well, it's an RTS where you don't fight people.
Yeah.
Or what's been the general response to that?
Yeah. I mean, you know, the game's done well, right? Like, we've already sold over 50,000 copies, you know, for a, you know, while in early access. So, you know, we're on a path to do well. And, so then it's just kind of a sort of a marketing problem of, like, how do you communicate? But that's the thing, is, like, I've actually found that people are receptive to the idea of, like, you know, all you have to say is, like, it's a, you know, it's an RTS without units. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. What does that mean? So on and so forth.
Right.
But at the same time, you also see a lot of people, you know, sort of randomly pop in through Twitch who are just like, what in the world is this?
This is garbage. How can you people even play this? Gone. Yeah.
Looks so boring, you know, and it's I don't know, you know. It's a really unusual game. So, like, I don't know if I necessarily know how to solve the marketing problem.
Right.
You know, I'm my hope is that just people are so enthusiastic about the game that sort of, like, you know, spreads outward and helps bring people in. That's my most honest answer. Gotcha. Wow, electronics is looking pretty good.
Yeah, I was thinking about making electronics. I probably will have to next mission at some point, although all this other stuff is quite expensive as well, except for aluminum, which is down at $7.
Yeah, and the primary resources have all bottomed out reasonably well for it, so...
So when you sell all resources, by the way, at the end of a mission, will prices adjust in that moment as well?
Yeah, I just wrote that down as a note. I don't think they Well, I'm not sure.
You're not sure, basically.
Sure.
Okay.
But it's definitely one of those things where like, oh, that's interesting because then it makes a difference. Like, do you sell if you sell them all right away, or do you sell them, automatically? So I'll have to look into that.
Right. All right then.
I wasn't referring to you, Llama Juice. We're definitely welcome.
Oh no.
New people in on the Twitch stream.
Weren't trying to call out anybody here today.
Wow, this is a really close. Hard to know if you should try to outbid
Oh, I'm
them.
not. I would need 2 stocks, so I'm not going to.
You're very close, but on the other hand, I mean, you do need to buy some stocks just so you can get some income.
Well, yeah, I got 11 purchased, so I have some income coming in, but at that point, spending 50,000 wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you saying?
Oh, the nice thing is it just ticked up to 9 population right before the end.
Oh, well, that's good, at least. Just a little bit of extra income there at the end.
Qubit, there's sort of a debate in the team whether we should have a main chat lobby. I think we're generally afraid of it because we're afraid of like internet nonsense going on if we have just an open chat lobby. But it's definitely something we've considered. Yeah, but again, since the UI is being rewritten, it's not something that could really even be addressed for a month anyway. I don't know if I've looked at it. Do you want to, first of all, do you want to talk about the campaign some, or do you want to jump into multiplayer? Or,
I'm up for whatever, still, basically. I've just been playing through campaign, losing games and such, so,
Yeah, that's funny. I guess you've won 1 and lost 2.
Yep.
Now you're in the phase, well, you're not, your stock price is doing pretty good, reasonably well, so you're not in danger of being eliminated, I guess. So
yeah, my stock's okay. Whereas you have Delta Stock over here, who won the last mission and has the lowest stock price in the game right now, so that is what it is. Well, he spent all his money. He didn't make any money,
so. Yeah. Huh. How much money did you have to spend? 500,000. Okay.
Yeah, I have 500,000 to blow, or no, I had 700,000, maybe more. No, I had 900,000, and I hired a steel mill engineer permanently just to have it, which probably wasn't the best idea, but
yeah, balance-wise, getting to turn 4, I kind of need to figure out a way to get you to an advanced building at this point. Like, if you could get an engineering lab at this point, like, it would kind of make the game a lot more interesting. But
yeah,
800,000 is kind of...
Well, I potentially could permanently buy an engineering lab at this point, but 800,000 is a lot of money. And most of the time, what I feel like I'm trying to do, honestly, is save up for that off-world market astronaut. Sure. Because if you can get one of those, like, permanently, and then hire a temporary one for that last mission, you can just blow through off-worlds so fast and do really, really well in that last mission.
Oh, you have 900k, so you could buy an engineering lab.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't think that's worth it?
It might be. I'm not sure, but like I was saying, the thing is, I really want to save up for an off-world.
Oh, okay. Did you leave some money on the table at the end of the last mission?
Oh yeah, I always have been. Like, what I've been doing for the past few missions is just permanently hire one guy.
Yep.
And then
just save your money.
Yeah, save the money from that point onward.
I kind of wonder. I mean, do you think the numbers should be changed some to, because I want the prices to be low enough that you would feel compelled to hire temporary contractors. Like,
right. No, I agree. And I think that maybe it would have been valuable for me to do that game. It's just, it's the kind of thing that's really hard to judge.
Yeah. Because, that's the thing. I can adjust it. I could make it 3 times the price, and then I could lower the price of the engineering lab, and I don't know. It's hard. I'm not getting the nearly as much feedback on the campaign as I am on, like, multiplayer.
Well, of course. Yeah.
So, there are people who stream campaigns. It's just that it's not, there's not the type of, like, chatter going on about it, right?
Exactly.
And the thing is, in multiplayer, it becomes very clear what the best strategies are because, you're being tested against other people, whereas in campaign, people just kind of choose their own path. I'm still trying to judge whether I should, rearrange those numbers some. Anyway, I'm just hoping that the campaign's gotten good enough that now people will give it enough of a try so I get some more feedback. But so if you want to jump into multiplayer though, maybe that'd be kind of fun for now.
Yeah, we can try that for at least a little bit.
Obviously, there's some good players hanging around.
Yeah, I can lose a few multiplayer games. It'll be all right.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts or changes you'd like to see in campaign based off of what you saw there?
I don't know. I was liking the basic idea. One thing I've always wondered about, even in multiplayer, is if it would be better to lock people out of stock rather than black market when they manage to get into that D bond rating.
Mm-hmm.
And in the campaign, we could kind of see some of the impact of that, at least, where we had that computer who just never did anything about his debt ever.
Right.
And won the mission anyway. Because he was just like, I'm just going to buy stuff in the campaign, or buy stock that whole time.
Well, he may have won. He may have won the battle, but I think he maybe lost the war.
Perhaps,
so,
perhaps.
You know, like I don't think it was necessarily a good thing for him to do. I mean, I still need to work on the AI having some sort of strategic level understanding of what they should do in the campaign, right?
Right.
Because I don't think in the campaign, I don't think the AI should ever let themselves get down to a D rating. Like that's just bad news.
Right. Whereas in multiplayer, apparently it works just fine sometimes. You just have to be in the right circumstance.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you watch that game where Game Slayer
I
had...
watched that game. I mean, I'm not... No.
I was just curious if you had seen it.
It was an interesting game.
It was interesting.
I'm not... if I saw that happen all the time, I'd be concerned.
Right.
Right. I've not seen... I don't think that game was a total outlier, but at the same time, like I think clearly debt is different now than it used to be. Right? It used to be debt was just like the #1 tool, and it was like the big thing that separated the new players from the veterans. And, I just don't think that's true anymore. And I mean, I think people now worry about debt, and at the same time, if someone can win a game with a D rating, like okay, fine. I don't necessarily have a huge problem with that.
No. It was just a very strange outlier game.
Yeah, it was an interesting game for sure.
I have to remember that I actually have to focus just a little bit this time because I'm up against good players and not computers. And I've been losing to computers, so this isn't going to go well, but we'll just have to see what happens. All right.
New citizen, our domination grows.
Grab that. This is a very awkward place I put myself.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, maybe if I can get to a pleasure dome, it'll be amazing. You never know.
Right.
Okay, so let's see. 2 scientists and 2 expansives this time. There is no power surge or any of that nonsense. There are filthy pirates. Let's see. He's gonna have to... he hooked him up. Shoot. I was hoping, but I guess we'll just wait now. Should have bought those earlier. 30. All right then. People have fun with that.
How much did you go up to?
$36,000 for that auction.
It's still at 9,000 for me.
That is expensive for an auction still. Oh man.
Yeah, that feels like that's beta 3 level price, I think.
Yeah, exactly. These days, I don't know how that's going to work out for them. An interesting thing, is there any way to know once you've already founded when you will get that extra claim? Like if you didn't keep track of exactly what timing you founded compared to everybody else, is there any way to know which upgrade will give you that extra bonus claim?
Which extra bonus claim?
Like from founding late, if you found later than everybody else.
Well, yeah, you get well, unfortunately, this is only shown before, but if you mouse, there's a widget over on the right side that you mouse over, it'll tell you when you get those claims.
Yeah, I'm just saying afterward. After you found it.
Yeah, we could probably add something to the pop-up help for the upgrade button.
I mean, if you're redoing the UI anyway, but yeah, and it even fits in really easily to the upgrade button. Just have the upgrade button tell you the number of claims, including the bonus.
It will actually tell you the correct number of claims, including the extra one. It just won't highlight that.
That this is the extra
one.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. Interesting.
pirates. I hate those filthy bandits.
Also, pirates are invisible.
I hate those
Oh?
filthy bandits.
Yeah.
Like, actually?
Yeah, pirates are actually invisible. Just a detail.
Scientific colony expanded.
Alright. I would love to get these solar panels down.
Expansive colony expanded.
By the way, for everyone who's watching, well, let me put the link. You can. Oh, are these guys playing you on the next branch?
Oh yeah, this is on the...
I guess everyone's used to switching over to it, so which
yeah,
is great.
Exactly. So
Here's a link if you want to get to try out Beta 5, or Beta 5 will still be changing, but our current version of it.
these steel mills really aren't doing much for me.
By the way, I've also spent some time looking at Pleasure Dome and trying to get the numbers right.
Gotcha.
And, the numbers will show up on the map when you move the Pleasure Dome around, and the numbers are all just in general. You'll be making a little less money than you were before.
I think people will be okay with that, just in general, you know. Pleasure Dome with virtual reality was getting a bit crazy because I was seeing even on 4-man games, like guy would have 2 Pleasure Domes down, and if you adrenaline boost it, I really meant to bid on that, would be making like 700-800 per Pleasure Dome.
Right.
So I don't even want to think about 8-man games.
Yeah. Now when you mouse over it, you should get like this is the highest you could get for a Pleasure Dome on this map. Although I don't think that includes virtual reality.
Gotcha. Well, I mean that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Does anybody actually... like how nobody's making glass. Oh no, this scientist is trying to make glass. He's at plus $11 for it right now. It's impressive. Alright. Well, I can. I may as well figure it out later.
We have increased our potential production.
Well, I should say there's less dome income, but
Shareholders will love it.
mostly that's a question of location. If you found close to the colony, your Pleasure Dome income will actually still kind of be the way it used to be. So there's a much bigger drop-off now.
Whoa, a slowdown strike. No.
So actually for Zoltar, you may want to think about Pleasure Dome. He's right.
Yeah, I may want to think about the Pleasure Dome because I've got these tiles right next to the colony here, and actually that's probably what I'm going to do.
Although power is 147.
It's coming down. It's all good. It was nighttime. I have solar panels down. Other people have power down. There was also just a geotherm auction, so that's going to dump a lot more power into the economy, which is an important little detail to consider. Go ahead and do some of that at this point. There we go. Do some of that. Alright. Well, I'm not in the worst spot this game, so that's something. That's a little bit different from usual. I haven't checked anything important like off-world prices or any of that nonsense.
Right.
Which I should really do more.
Also, there's no EMPs or power surges in this game.
Yeah, I noticed that. Pirates have been getting bought.
The Scientific have literally no bonus here.
Which Bradbury was smart enough that he actually... I bought Pirates and immediately Bradbury linked up his steel. Like, he had one claim floating and was just like, nope, 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 nope.
Yeah. Well, it feels so bad if you like get hit by pirates for something that's like one tile away from your headquarters. I mean, that,
oh yeah,
that's pretty big.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
So what's your Pleasure Dome making?
My Pleasure Dome is making me 142 compared to a $22 power price right now, so 152 now that an expansive colony expanded.
All right, that seems reasonable.
So it's not bad. You know, it's a reasonable amount of money for a tile. I mean, it's actually a lot of money for a tile right now, honestly, except that it's paying down debt, but...
Yeah, that's literally next to the colony, so...
Yeah, exactly. But these days, one of the things that I think makes the Pleasure Dome more valuable is just the increased importance of debt. So like the old rules of never build a Pleasure Dome because it doesn't actually make you money aren't as relevant, because you don't want to make money necessarily with all your tiles. Some of them need to pay down debt, because you're going to have to commit money to paying down debt anyway, so...
Right.
But it's a very drastic change to the game that I actually kind of enjoy. That these debt-paying buildings are far more viable now.
Yeah, well, it just fleshes out the rest of the game in general.
Exactly.
You know, like debt is interesting, and it's good that it's something you consider. I mean, because it's a hard mechanic to. There's no right answer with debt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like unless you're going for a it seems like basically you want either no debt so you can makes power, or you want to kind of be hovering between like B and triple B or low A or whatever.
Right. All right. Well, we'll see if I can make this work. Everybody, it looks like, is just poking around with, like, looking at changes and small things like that, because nobody's gotten aggressive in the stock market yet. Yeah, not even a little bit.
That's really interesting.
Well, nobody's stock price is super low except for Asimov, which he just now pushed into a C rating. Everybody's been a lot more careful this game, which you actually see a lot more commonly these days, now that people are kind of figuring out debt. For a while, it was just the stock market would go crazy because one guy would lose track of what he was doing and everybody would jump on him instantly, period.
Yeah.
These days, everybody's kind of a lot more cautious and poking around and trying to be careful, and so it creates a bit of a different scenario overall.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely worried about the issues of people just dying on the vine. That's a big problem. In fact, I even just asked recently, like, can we add are you sure you want the found button when you're at a potentially D rating for reveal map?
Yeah.
And I will also say that, like, I know you prefer 4-man games, which is great. I mean, that's what I prefer as well. But sometimes you play 6-man. I actually really believe that if you're playing a 6-man game, you should actually not play a reveal map. Like,
it might be true.
It's just the potential of someone ruining the game for everyone by suicide is just too high. And at what benefit, right? Like, when you got a 6-player map, the map's big enough that you're going to find a good spot at some point anyway. Like the scanning phase is not that bad. Like the issue with it is the 2-player situation, right? Like that, I totally see why you want to reveal map mode.
Well, in 4-man games, I think most of the time for my 4-man games, especially, it works out well because of the particular crowd that I happen to draw when I play.
We called the dirty rat trying to break our stuff.
Of course we did. Now, do I still have to wait for a building to complete in order to be able to adrenaline boost it?
Well, actually today, it's not in this, but in today's code, I just checked in something, so it'll actually speed up the rate that the buildings are built. If you
okay, and then it'll stick on the tile as well, in addition to that?
Okay,
good.
Yeah.
That was an interesting detail where you could even swap a building and it would still be there once the new building had been completed, but...
Yeah. So now you can do it faster, so...
Right.
Interesting, yeah.
Okay. Well, actually, there's no area of effect nonsense this game, so... Why don't I just do that?
It's funny, now that the EMP or the power surge, sometimes if they're off the market, you're like, oh wow, I can now do things I would never do normally because I'm not worried about being like,
like plant 2 off-world markets adjacent to each other so you can adrenaline boost both
or just
of them.
have a big clump of buildings together, like you kind of separate your steel mills from your electronics factories a little bit just so that they weren't
and I didn't have to do that.
Yeah,
it was just an automatic thing that I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that, actually, because it would have been better if I had been able to abuse other adjacency bonuses a bit more easily. Well, what do I want to make here? Shoot. Like, oxygen is so expensive, it's actually put me in a bit of an awkward situation. But yeah, for example, I guess what I'm doing right now is just going into more electronics factories. Could have gotten adjacency bonuses, not getting adjacency bonuses. This Offworld, okay, it's not quite done yet. It's at 59 out of 60, I guess.
6,000, 7,000, 10,000, 12,000, 14.
Did you boost your launch?
I did boost my launches.
Okay, you're looking
I don't know if it worked or not. I honestly wasn't keeping enough track, but I guess I can check again in just a moment here.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to have worked.
50.
Yeah, that's right. Offworld will launch twice as fast. Everything will go twice as fast when boosted.
Okay, there. Both of them are
Oh,
launching.
interesting.
What?
Dry ice condenser.
Yeah, the dry ice condensers. They're actually a good call. I mean,
yeah, I've improved them a little bit in beta 5 as well. Just you know, just tiny bit here and there.
Gotcha.
It doesn't. The dry ice now consumes a little less power.
That's probably good. That was one of their big
water.
things for a long time. Was just they have a ridiculous power cost.
Your stock is being bought.
People buying in my stock and such.
Your stock.
I might actually be in trouble here. I don't know if I can pull this off quite with these two Offworlds getting attacked by dynamite constantly.
All the money.
But we'll see. Let's see. The farms, I'm just having trouble making decent money out of anything. So I guess what we'll do is do some of that. And some
I like that.
of that. Like the what?
The trio of engineering labs Asimov has.
Yeah.
I wonder if the response to nerf engineering labs is just build more.
Well, actually, he was just talking about in chat a little while ago how he only just now noticed they got nerfed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another curiosity
Ideally,
I've
like
had,
so
by the way, is if... Well, you go ahead and finish what you were saying.
That, you know, sometimes it would make sense. Like, I'm just going to take 2 upgrades. You know, I don't necessarily need to go all the way to 4. You know, I think basically when you had the final one was 200%, it was like we were dumb not to try to go all the way up.
Yeah. You pretty much had to go for all the way. No, I sold instead of buying. Oh, that's going to cause me problems. I could have had this whole game just now. I don't think I'm going to have it now.
Yeah.
Oh, there, I got it. I got it done. It's all good.
Yeah,
I have
see.
a lot of stock in Bradbury.
Yes, about the pleasure dome. Looks like the amount of money generated went down. I assume maybe someone else built the pleasure dome. They might have a hologram, as I can think of.
Yeah, I did notice that price drop at some point, though, and actually I need to turn that off. Oh, that was another interesting bug. I don't know if you spotted that when I pointed it out. I could get to things like who had purchased... I could get to an end-game report before I was actually out of the game before.
Oh, yeah, I think I turned that off. I think if you
Okay.
have F1 right now, you won't have access to that.
That's probably good. I mean, I just noticed that was going on, and I was like, I don't know if I should actually be able to do that, but okay.
You're using your dry ice condenser basically to ship oxygen. Huh?
Yeah, oxygen's pretty good right now.
That works out pretty well. Yeah.
I have noticed a significant increase in the amount of dry ice available, which is kind of nice.
Yep.
And I think
Yeah,
you guys,
the
that
third
was an
time.
implementation, right? Like, actually just...
Yeah, we just finally kind of got that in order of, like, specifically, I mean, you know, it's a pre-game setting, right? Like, if you want to play with dry ice, you can choose that now, so...
Interesting,
and
yeah.
normally it's just, you know, chooses between one of those 3 settings.
Gotcha. So it just has more of a chance to hit dry ice now, or... Because I've been seeing a lot more dry ice in general.
You're either going to get a northern map, an equatorial map, or a southern map, which in the setting means basically, you know, if the setting means the ice levels,
ice or
like water ice,
which
dry
type,
ice, no ice, and random, it just picks equally between them.
Gotcha. Trying to very heavily abuse the fact that I'm expansive right now, because that's one of those big expansive bonuses that it seems like a lot of people don't really count as an expansive bonus, but it's kind of important, is the fact that Offworlds are so cheap.
Yep.
I'm trying to see if I can make that actually work for me this game.
Offworld launched. Look at all the money.
Alright.
The black market is online.
Alright.
Yeah, it's Game Slayer. If you find anything that's broken, just please post about it in the forums.
Invisible Pirates.
With Beta 5. I mean,
I should really post
I'm
on
not
the
surprised
forums
Beta
more.
5 has some issues. This is you know, this is why it's a password protected branch.
Beta is beta.
Yeah.
Is it still password protected? Maybe I just was in it because I had the password earlier, that kind of thing.
Yeah, if you opt in before, I think it's always available.
Remembers. Gotcha. So it's still the same password as last time if anybody new was interested in joining into it, for example.
Yeah. Qubit, yeah, holograms do stick around. They're attached to the tile, not the building. So if you delete a building, it will still be there when you put something else there. And yeah, and actually, so if you have a hologram on an empty tile, and like let's say you build an Offworld market there, the other players will not see an Offworld market come out of your headquarters, and they will not see anything on the tile while you're building it. So if they're watching closely, they will notice that suddenly like a building just appears out of nowhere, which is a telltale sign of a hologram. But it's okay if there's a little bits here and there that you could pick up to notice.
Also, I noticed that holograms no longer trigger the black market cooldown, but you can't purchase them if the black market is on cooldown. Which I suppose makes some degree of sense. I was just curious if that was intentional or not.
Sorry, what were we saying? About the black market cooldown?
Like a hologram and a spy, for example, they don't trigger black market cooldowns anymore.
Right. Yeah, that's intentional.
But
I mean, they're being ignored often.
You can't purchase them if the black market is on cooldown.
Oh. Okay, I should think about that, I guess.
Like, I could just buy a spy, and I can see he's doing food production. I'll actually blow it up, because I can. Now I'm going to buy a slowdown strike, and that's just going to hit up there. But now I can't buy another spy.
Offworld shipment.
Terry, okay, that's the last player.
Look at all the money. Look at all the money. Offworld shipment. Offworld shipment. Look at all the money. Look at all the money.
Do I really not have any glass furnaces down? I meant to fix that. Oh well.
So, GameSlayer, some of that stuff is intentional. The engineering lab, it was turned down in the patch, and I think that's what we're going to stick with. And the post-game report is not supposed to be available during the game, at least in multiplayer. I think it might be available in single player.
That would make some degree of sense because it's single player. Let people do what they want, you know. But
I'm not sure. By the auto supply, is that how when you manually sell auto supply doesn't turn back on? Yeah,
I think it's about that.
Yeah.
Offworld shipment launched. Look at all the money.
Yeah, this Pleasure Dome, it keeps going. It's stuck at 126, which at one point it was higher. I don't know why it would have gone down in value over time. Oh, except I do have two Pleasure Domes now. Shoot, I forgot. This one's a hologram engineering lab. Yeah, I have two. And this one's making way less money. What if I just
so someone did...
Yeah, someone did hologram and engineering lab as a Pleasure Dome.
I did guess correctly.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So it looks like they kind of guessed where your off-world markets are, even with the holograms.
Well, I mean, I had the off-world markets up, and then, like 3 minutes later, I just threw down 4 holograms at once. So it's not exactly the order you want to do that in. All right. Well, there's that. It was interesting. GameSlayer apparently did not hear the conversation about the engineering labs being nerfed beforehand, unfortunately. Which explains why he went into 3 of them.
Yep.
He found an okay scientific spot, I guess. The Invisible Pirates, though, yeah, and I actually also saw before the games... Excuse me, I saw that somebody had commented in chat that pirates were invisible. So I think that may have even been an issue on the last patch. It's just we almost never saw pirates on the last patch, so...
Oh, really? On Beta 4? Wow, that's...
At least for part of it, from what I was seeing. That's just what it looked like was being discussed in chat. It might have been about the new stuff, because I don't know exactly who said something about it, and maybe they just jumped on that next version immediately. But... By the way, can you select black market in custom games at this point, or no? Like if you wanted to set up a...
turn them off?
No, I mean, like, set up a deck of black market to use.
You can't choose exactly what you want. It's just, that's a UI task to do. It would be fairly easy to do. Technically, it's just...
I figured it was a UI thing, so it just hasn't happened at all yet.
No.
So... How long do you estimate the UI changes will take, by the way? If you have an estimate. If you're not comfortable giving one, then, you know, whatever. But
yeah, I actually haven't talked to them about it in about a week, so
okay.
I'm not 100% sure where it's at right now. I think that let me open up the game myself. I think that, excuse me, you can sort of see it in action, even though it's definitely not playable right now with some sort of I think there's an option for it maybe.
Yeah, I thought I spotted an option on the internal branch for some small changes you could make, but
yeah, I don't see it in the options yet. So
I did notice this
be that
game
still
mod
it's-
option is still there, but I don't know if that has any impact on anything right now.
yeah, well, I mean, you need to add a mod. Basically.
Add a mod. Yeah, okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, it looks like basically the new UI is probably still being worked on.
Okay.
All right, we'll probably maybe have time for one more match.
Yeah, we can do one
Sound
more, and
good?
before we wrap things up, we can just pop into another 4-man custom. Yeah, it's kind of sad. I do prefer 4-mans, and I do prefer reveal map, but occasionally I feel obligated to turn it up to 6 if a game fills in like 2 seconds.
Yep. Yep.
We could try
I've
without
got some
reveal
people
map to see
here,
how
so-
it goes, but... I tried to tell
I mean, again,
you
like
when I
with
came to
your
stream, it was
with your
yesterday
crowd,
on
I
beta
don't-
4. Okay, yeah. Sorry, it was Basket SSF, and he is definitely the one who pointed out initially is that on beta 4 yesterday he was having the invisible pirate issue.
Oh, weird.
Sorry. Anyway, what were you saying?
Kind of hard to believe that wouldn't have come up until right now, but I guess anything's possible. Yeah, I was saying, I mean, with your crowd, I mean, basically, if you get a 6-player game and you recognize all the names, I'm sure you'll be fine with the real map, but...
Yeah. One thing I have been interested in, I don't know if you've heard me talking about it all on stream, but I wanted to talk to you about it, was this idea of... Well, I have a custom game up and nobody's joining. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, you're still on the next version, so...
Well, yeah, but we had people
kinda surprised.
in instantly last time. We'll see if we can get another next version game going and then see. But about reveal map, like right now, it feels... I think debt starts ticking down. Sorry about that.
Well, I
between
did change it
1,500 and
around.
2,000? Okay.
Yeah, I did change around, so it goes down faster now and then slower.
Okay.
It's the opposite.
Yeah. I think I just like
hopefully
that
it's,
idea better because it opens up a bigger window of when people are actually making a decision, and it also makes it more impactful to found with debt, because what you were seeing people do, honestly, on reveal maps sometimes was if there were decent spots, then just nobody would found with debt anymore because debt was so terrifying, and you only got a few extra seconds in there of production if you founded with some debt as opposed to just taking the risk and founding after debt went away.
Right.
I think people are having trouble seeing my game right now. Which, maybe I
Did you
messed with
somehow
something.
switch back to...
Here, no, I think I know what I did. We'll try again. There we go.
What did you do?
Oh, I changed the mod settings at one point. I was just messing around with them, and then I didn't put it back exactly where it was supposed to be.
I didn't even know that necessarily worked. I guess if you probably have a mod active, it only shows...
It only
players
shows
with that
games
mod.
with that mod, probably, yeah.
Which I'll bring up, if people hate things I've done, you know, you can change, you can make your own mod. You know, you want the old engineering lab, you can bring it back. You pretty much have to make sure that everyone else is ready to play with you, because you're not going to see people online. But I mean, it is an option.
All right. Well, now we got 4 people. That filled up very quickly when I fixed the problem, so I'll hop on into it. Well, okay. It's a bit more of a forgiving map this time around. I win. I think we had a network issue there of some sort. Oh, no, it said I win. Yeah, and then they all went to AI. And then I'm alone in this game. Well, let's try again. I don't know if my network dropped for a second there or what. I didn't get disconnected from the stream or Skype from what I can tell, so it seems more like a Steam issue than anything else, but...
Yeah.
Well, Cubit's here this time.
Surprised he wasn't in the last game.
Just wasn't fast enough on the trigger finger. There's also an interesting post on the Offworld subreddit that was asking about how to reduce the size of the UI. Are you guys planning to make that scalable at all during the rework, or?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a link to.
Well,
Scott
it looks like,
the,
yeah,
the forums.
Dutch Monkey, aka Scott, was talking about how do you want the HUD to resize, so yeah.
I'm sure that if it's something that we can do easily, we will.
Right.
I wonder where everyone went. I was kind of expecting this to fill up.
Well, it's full now, so...
Oh, it is? Okay.
We can go ahead and get started. And maybe we won't have whatever happened last time happen this time. The map is not nearly so pretty, as is to be expected. This is pretty consistent whenever I make games, it seems, in any game whatsoever. The map generators always hate me. You should see the current Terraria game I have going with friends. It's ridiculous. It was absolutely disgusting.
Well, we have made some changes to the map generation for the sort of the maps that are kind of more hated, like canyons and chaos, for not having much terrain. Those maps will actually now generate as larger than their normal size, so that on average there will still be the same number of usable tiles across the whole map. It's just that they'll be, you know, more spread out.
Right. Man, that's already gone and I haven't found it yet. That's kind of an issue. I could just do something stupid this game then.
What an excellent location for a lab. Well done on finding it.
Wow, my stream must be really behind. I'm still looking at you in the lobby.
That's weird. Is it progressing forward still? The stream?
No, I think I might refresh. Yeah.
Because my stream is all caught up, so
yeah,
hopefully it's running okay.
I'm good now.
The black market is online.
Alright, GameSlayer looks like was making forum posts about things, so...
Yeah.
Expanded.
Oh, players have dropped? See AI.
Oh, I see AI on 2 of them, yeah. One of them still doesn't show AI, and I thought they found it okay. If I can review this chat log here. Nope, 2 of them found it AI. That's unfortunate. Well, I don't know what's going on there.
Expansive colony
That does explain how we ended up with 2 robotic colonies in this game. I was a little confused by that, but whatever.
Is this Qubit? I mean, if it's Qubit, you could still be.
It is Qubit.
You just consider the AI as like, I don't know, interesting bystanders.
It's additional neutral colony. Which is something I've actually always wanted to, experiment with more. Sorry, the neutral colony. Maybe I should figure out how to write a mod for the neutral colony so I can play with it. It's just such an interesting concept. Oh, well, we lost Qubit, so there's that.
Jeez. It's so weird that everything was fine.
Yeah, everything was fine the first game.
Maybe you should restart Steam or something.
I could try and shut things down and come back in just a moment so we can try and end on a slightly better note.
Yeah. Steam has that habit of like updating itself but leaving you in the game, and then suddenly, you know, you don't know why something's wrong. Oh, he quit?
He was gone, yeah. I don't know.
Well, I guess Qubit said he quit as opposed to drop.
Oh, okay. I quit because I thought you dropped. I left too. Okay. Interesting. All right, maybe let's try once more. Maybe I broke things when I was playing with the mod button. it must be interesting having people come from different sides of the community. Some of them heavily involved, being like, I want this to be more interesting, and I want this to be more interesting, and then other people I see post on the forums about, can we get some help learning this game? Yeah, right.
The tutorial's been basically untouched since we launched, and that's really something. That's where we need.
Which means it's a liar.
To be working on. Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, I do update the text every once in a while when the factions change, but beyond that, there's not much going on there.
Yeah, I've actually had several requests to put out a tutorial for the game of some sort. So I mean, that's something that I'm going to be looking at doing in the future, because obviously it's one of the things that is honestly sometimes a bit easier to just watch a video on. But
yeah, well, it would be a popular video, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, still on our channel, that my tutorial videos I did are like the most popular ones.
Yeah, exactly. Well, people just want to know how to play. It's all confusing.
One of the nice things about the tutorials, although it seems to be, I don't know if you should necessarily do this, but they use the same map seed, right? So if someone watches although I imagine now, 5 months later, they probably don't generate the same. But if you do a video of one of the tutorial levels, they'll see the exact same map that you see when they play it.
Right, exactly. Which does have its benefits for sure. All right. Well, we'll see.
Well, again, we got no EMP or power surges, so no black market bonuses for you.
Yep.
Yeah, we got one of each headquarters here. All right, well, that's nice to see.
What I did notice though was no pirates as well, so I was just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see, is there Bam. Yeah, it was an interesting detail. Robots do start with a spare 10 electronics they can use now. Which is actually kind of relevant. I mean, that's actually a lot of cash at the start of the game.
Yep.
Alright, well, why don't we just do some of this then?
Expansive colony expanded.
The black market.
Yeah. Seems like the way I would look at it there for the robotic is they basically only need to buy 10 electronics to get to level 3, as opposed to 40 glass for everyone else.
That is one way to look at it for sure. Although sometimes you just want that money immediately.
Yeah.
You know? Tell you what, I'll go ahead and do. There we go. I'm probably in a bad spot this game, but I'm just kind of messing around and seeing how it goes. And then, of course, I think this is Game Slayer down here. Just messing around with the robotic idea. Seeing if he can make that work. There's not a lot of pressure, not a lot of selling from steel happening this game. It's kind of weird.
That gap between iron and steel is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, which means our expansive friend is going to be making a lot of money on that.
Yeah, it doesn't really help you with scientific.
No.
Are you even making these?
Yeah, I'm making steel. It's just way up there.
Yeah.
I'm experimenting this game, which means I'm probably going to lose because that's what happens, but, you know.
Yeah.
It's the price you pay.
Shipping steel is not bad because it's better to ship secondary resources than primary. Well, at least if there's no pirates.
Yeah, I mean, no pirates, so it costs less fuel. For one thing, and then
it costs a quarter as much fuel.
Yeah, it's way less fuel, and especially because I don't have to ship something out to it, it's kind of okay. Let's see. Not sure what I want to do with this actually. Let's do some of that. Mule is much faster. 3K is now a solid purchase. Oh yeah, we do have a mule this game. I didn't even spot that because I wasn't looking for it because there were extra claims. So I was just like, I like claims. They're good. Going with it. That was that entire thought process. Probably not the best, but it can work out sometimes.
Remote colony expanded.
Man, the scavengers and food along with me. Bothersome.
3,000.
A new claim is available for auction. Bidding will begin at
Aw. That 3,000 number was pushing for quite some time, and I was like, maybe?
7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 12,000, 14,000, 16,000, 18,000.
So, what are your thoughts moving forward on the game? Obviously, you've got UI changes coming before too long. But what else is kind of in the pipeline that we can be watching for over the next few months, if there's anything you have to share?
Well, like I said, we're trying to redo the interface. We're going to be at some point we're going to be having hosted quick match games, so they should be a little more reliable. And essentially, they're running on our servers. Hopefully, we get more people playing those. We'll then start introducing four-man quick match games,
right?
Which should be cool. I'm going to be continually working on the campaign. So it'd be great if people let me know what their feelings are on that. I mean, gameplay-wise, it's mostly just watching how things are going with the community. There's been some changes for Beta 5, so I'm going to see how people adjust to that and then see if there's other stuff that can be changed. I think what else is at a high level. And we got a lot of cool stuff planned for the rankings part of it. Where eventually there'll be a nice website that shows everyone and shows all the games you played and who's the best. It's not just gonna be like who's the best in the world, but who's the best in the world at canyons, right? Stuff like that.
Right. Interesting.
And so that'll be cool to get that stuff working.
All right. Cool. But yeah, I assume gameplay changes are fairly self-explanatory. Just this basic, well, we adjust as things need to be changed. But there's all those extra bells and whistles that can be really interesting. It's more of the curiosity at this point. But it's always good to know exactly what's coming for that.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything huge that would affect the base game, I would have wanted to have it in there at this point because it would be, it's like why worry about fine tuning if there's like a whole new building coming into play?
Yeah. Let's see.
This could be a really close game here.
Yeah, I mean, Asimov's doing a good job. Clark's doing a good job. He's getting hit by strikes, which is kind of nice, since they're not coming at me, so, I always like that, but...
Yeah, then there's... None of the prices are really getting out of control yet, so...
Well, glass is getting there,
Yeah, it's getting there. I mean, especially with the price of silicon. What are you going to do for glass?
I'm probably just going to plant glass and buy silicon. I've already got 60 glass stored up for this expansion, so I was trying to push to it so I could go ahead and...
To me, that's one of the hardest parts about scientific is just...
glass.
I almost think like yeah, exactly. The biggest thing for scientific is if you can find an iron triangle. You want an iron triangle, and you gotta be near water. Like these are kind of those core tenets, but like you gotta be near some silicon too. Like,
if you can,
silicon all
it's
the
so
way
much
across
easier.
The map. Yeah, it really makes a big difference. And I'd rather, I think, kind of go another HU type entirely if I'm that far away from silicon.
Yeah. Well, one thing I need to start keeping track of a bit better is how many geotherms on the map, because that will significantly impact the necessity of silicon for a scientist in making something like glass. Those are just important small details. Well, I got slant drilling, I guess. That's nice.
Hubert asked, do Beta 5 quick matches count to the board? I am not sure. I don't know the answer to that. I think that probably will be resetting all the stats when Beta 5 goes live. So
it would make sense for the time being.
Don't get too attached to your win-loss record as it is anyway.
Man, if I had a core sample and I could find some silicon, that'd be so cool. Unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. Nobody has bought an adrenaline boost yet this game. Everybody is terrified of their adrenaline boost.
That is weird.
Getting attacked, apparently.
Yeah. It's funny, though. There's no EMP
well,
or power
claims
surge.
have been available is the biggest thing there, I think,
Yeah. And there's nothing obvious that... I mean, if someone had a glass furnace up, I would probably put it on that, but there's nothing totally obvious that would benefit from that.
All right. Finally got glass online. That only took forever.
Yeah. And again, you could have clustered your buildings a lot more.
I could have, because there are no EMPs and power surges. It's just, this is one of the issues I'm having, is I played so much Offworld early on, I can't break habits at this point. It's so difficult for me.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing that really threw me for a loop, enough so that I'm considering putting it as an option, just kind of for kicks, is that one of the level events in the campaign is no adjacency bonuses.
Ooh, that would be.
And it just like the whole game changes completely, because then you don't want to put your good buildings next to each other, right? Because there's no reason to, but you're just asking to get hit with black market stuff. So it's just like you play the game totally differently. And if you're scientific, you can just put your buildings randomly all over the map. It's really very strange.
Yeah, that would be really awkward, actually. Cubit talking about how he'd like a live leaderboard and things like that. That kind of thing would be nice.
Sleep over his record. Well, think of it this way, Cubit. If you can, you might be able to go undefeated on Beta 4. Because eventually you'll lose, right? But if we reset your stats, you can know that you're never beat on Beta 4.
There, I drove glass to no longer being profitable. Whoa, core sample! I go too auction happy these days as well. But I like how the game doesn't say, one thing I noticed, actually just a big minor thing, is the game doesn't say pirates every single time a black market comes up. Which it was good, I think, to have that change implemented, because it always threw me off, was just, oh, pirates! Oh, that's not pirates, that's a dynamite. Alright, these are different things.
I would think core sample would be really nice for you.
Potentially.
Who got slant drilling? It came up for auction, didn't it?
I got slant drilling.
I'm surprised you didn't put your glass furnaces up on that silicon north of you. It's not too far away.
No, it's not too far away, no. It probably would have been usable, but I wanted to be able to move them, because glass almost never holds its price.
Yeah.
Very well.
But if you put it on the well, yeah.
Yeah, it was an option. I just don't play enough scientific these days as part of it. Let's see.
What did you get? You got the core. So what are you gonna do with the core samples?
Well, I tried to see if I could find some silicon under me. That did not happen.
Oh yeah, sure.
They've already got planted
that's
down.
Unlikely.
It was unlikely, but I thought it was worth a shot. You know, that kind of thing. Just basic maybe. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. Turns out it didn't.
There comes the glass shortage. Wait, you shorted glass and then you got out of glass?
Well, I had already had like 400 glass. Yeah, silicon got ridiculous, and plus I got this water source here. I might go back into glass before long.
Yeah.
But
well,
yeah, the price of silicon went a little crazy, so.
Well, I don't know if this is all justified, but the way the game is playing out right now is a balancer's dream. You got all 4 headquarters, and each player has a different advanced building.
Fair point. I mean, everybody's experimenting at least, right?
Yeah. So that's nice to see.
So at least nobody saw a change and was like, "Oh, that's garbage. I'll never use that," and completely avoided it.
I mean, to me, what I want with each of the advanced buildings is if you see someone else build, you're like, "Oh man, I can't let them have it all by themselves." But like if you're the only person who builds a patent office, like you can really clean up. But at the same time, I didn't see that a lot in the last patch, just because it was so engineering lab heavy.
Yeah, I did it a couple times, but not frequently.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just totally uncontested for patents, it's like you're like giving yourself like almost like it's like as if you have the bonuses of all the HQs.
Yeah. Asimov's already at an off-world market. That's a bit disconcerting. And that's a real off-world market, too.
So for Qubit, the market demand change, which I think I talked about a little earlier in the broadcast, was that basically on like an 8-man game, the colony is just going to be a lot larger. It's going to have more modules, higher population, and it's going to grow. It's going to grow more often than it would in a 2-player game. And it's just a linear It's just linearly proportional there from 2 to 8 players. So an 8-player game should have a much larger colony, which means you just have a much higher demand for goods in general. So like if no one found it at all, right, you'd see the prices go up a lot faster in an 8-player game than you would in a 2-player game.
12,000.
I'm spending way too much steel right now. I don't have that level of steel to spend.
Ooh, that price! Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
1,000.
What would have been really nice is if you had found an iron tile randomly next to your colony.
Yeah, that would have been kind of cool. I mean, I could always just move into more steel production, and that probably wouldn't be a bad idea at some point. But
You got 4. That's, I mean, I don't know if you want to be more than that.
well, I mean, I can just transition one of my buildings into it, and then when it drops out, it can easily transition out of it because suddenly steel's not worth anything, you know?
Yeah, I mean those farms aren't doing much for you, right?
Exactly,
So,
and that's why I was kind of tempted to be like, well, I'll just make more steel then. Oh, there's a steel shortage going on. I did that. I knew that was coming. I don't use the hacker array much these days. It's hard to keep track of all these things.
yeah.
Robots have lost their double electronics bonus.
Yes, that is true.
Okay, and that was intentional.
That's intentional, yeah.
All right. That was
Trying to simplify. I also didn't like the fact that you moused over robotic, you just saw like 6 or 7 bonuses, you know.
Yeah, it's true. It can get a little crazy. Good to give them a couple powerful things rather than... Yeah.
The black market is online.
Boy, the stock price is really... Oh, I had this mostly for purchased off. I would say like there's... Stock prices have really differentiated themselves.
Yeah, just because of how much
Interesting.
stock purchasing is going on.
Yeah, it looks like Herbert has decided just to hold on to his money, though. That's interesting.
Yeah, Herbert has just been holding money. I don't really know why, but that's what he's up to.
I'm surprised no one's starting to buy him up yet.
Well, I'm more worried about myself right now, honestly, but
Yeah.
it's kind of my thought process.
Well, Asimov's made a hard run of Clark, basically. So.
Yeah, yeah. Which he can. He got off to a nice quick lead, honestly, with that.
Yeah, well, he's got
what
the
he was
alpha
up
market
to.
up. And,
Yeah, that Offworld in particular is what's making things a little crazy here.
yeah. I mean, this is the potential of the game right now. I've toyed with the idea of the situation that we're in right now. Asimov would just already get control of Clark. Like, if you get a majority shares in a company, they just immediately become yours.
Right.
Because at this point, you almost have this problem of, like, Clark is, like, kind of walking dead man.
Right.
Right? And, like, almost anything he could do at this point in the game kind of makes the game balance worse. Right? Like, if Clark starts buying up stocks, say, in Herbert, right? That just basically makes, you know, it's almost like Asimov has a subsidiary working for him, right? I mean, Clark is buying up shares of Asimov, so he's trying to make a go of it, but you know, Asimov only needs $100,000 to buy him out.
For some reason, I can buy a claim despite having a D stock price. I don't know what that's about.
Oh, you can always buy claims in cookbooks.
Okay.
Because those are seen as like positive ways to like help yourself get out of debt.
Right. Rather than being aggressive. Okay, interesting. Those are burning so much money, I don't even want to think about it. Let's see, those are running. That's good.
Ooh, food is back. That didn't take long.
Yeah, food came back pretty heavily. I'm working
you gotta
on...
claim, you know.
Yeah. I know I've got a claim. I've been trying to get to an Offworld this whole time in some ways, but it just wasn't a reasonable thing to try and do. So I really should just blow the claim at this point somewhere.
You can put the Offworld anywhere. Remember, there's not even
I
an
know.
underground nuke. So
I know. I was just thought I would get to it a lot faster was all, so... And my debt's also gone completely nuts because I've been out of power this whole time and ignoring it, which was quite inappropriate. Because power's up to $300 right now, and I just let that get too out of control to actually be in this game ever because I have too much debt to pay down.
Yeah.
That's what happens when I try and talk and play at the same time and I'm not talking about the game.
Well, you're definitely going to lead the game in number of buildings created again.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm so good at that. I'm so good at leading the game in number of buildings created. You have no idea.
Yeah. I want to buy some Asimov now while there's still a chance.
I was thinking about it, but I also kind of wanted to pay down some of my own debt at some point, because that's gotten a bit ridiculous.
No,
I
he's
can
not
buy
going to have
one.
stock available for long.
Yeah, I know.
Like, as long as he's not 50%, I think you're okay. But
that's a fair point.
Manipulation begins shortly.
Don't know why I'm doing that. There we go. Well, I'm still not set at all, but I'm not dead, so I guess there's that. But yeah, I just let that get too out of control this game. Because I was trying to do things like buy adrenaline boosts and really work things and try and make stuff go my way, and it just was never going to happen. Because I couldn't buy black market effects. There we go. This is why I always have to go for nanotech, because I just change out my buildings far too often.
Yeah. Wow, yeah, you're right now. You are sitting on D. Remember it's at noon.
Yeah, it's at noon now instead of midnight, and I forget about that a lot too, so.
I put it at noon because I just didn't want it to happen right after the auction, because it just seemed like silly, basically.
Yeah. It's understandable.
You're making a lot of steel.
Yep. Well, that's...
You're making 2,000 a second in steel.
Good. That's all I have to say about that right now. I kind of need to. I don't know if you noticed how badly I'm losing this game, but it's not pretty.
Manipulation begins shortly.
Yeah, Herbert's jumped in on those shares of Asimov, so...
Yeah, Herbert's actually in a really good spot in a lot of ways. He might still be able to pull it out. Asimov just doesn't have the cash on hand. He doesn't have an off-world, like one of his off-worlds isn't launching. Herbert's really pulled back into it.
Yeah, I don't know what your play is here. I mean, potentially Herbert buys out Asimov, or Asimov buys out Herbert. I mean, that seems like what's going to happen here.
Asimov left himself and myself in this position, though, where neither of us could transition buildings ever. Because steel is just so expensive, and I think that's a big part of what's been wrecking him. It's the fact that I haven't ever fixed the steel price, and he never did anything about it either. It's definitely created a bad situation for the two of us. Fine, I'll just make more steel, shoot. I can't ever move my buildings around because this ridiculous steel nonsense. Alright. Unfortunately, I need $700,000 to do anything, so it's just never happening. But we can pretend that I'm still in this game.
Our hackers have compromised the trading service. Price manipulation begins shortly.
Yep, Herbert can buy me if he wants to, so I should be dead in just a moment here.
Yeah, it's you know, it's hard to get an off-world up if you aren't essentially, if...
Well, it was impossible to get an off-world up this whole time because steel has been above $200 and, like, never came down. Yep. So Herbert transitioned when carbon dropped to $1 into off-worlds, which is a good play on his part, but I didn't feel like we ever really had that opportunity, unfortunately.
Did you short the steel, or did that just happen?
I shorted steel that time.
Okay. I got a pretty penny off of it, but...
What's upsetting is I might actually be able to push to a buy on Herbert at some point, except he has enough to buy me whenever he wants. He's just going after Asimov.
That's the weird thing. He's gonna wait to buy Asimov, I think. Like, I don't think he wants to spend his money on you.
But I have way more money than Asimov.
He sees how close you are, right? So
exactly.
If you start getting up to 80 or 90, he will buy you.
At least he should.
Yeah, you have to figure out a way to hurt him, essentially.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no way to take money away from somebody once they've got it. Now that he's spent it, but of course that pushed the buy price way high. So it's still not really an option, necessarily, but... Alright, fine. Just get out of all these. Into some of that. see.
Fuel. You might want to sell. Oh man.
It's fine. It's all good. I got it. I'm not making enough fuel, of course, but...
What's that, $500,000 in fuel you're sitting on?
Yeah, something like that.
$600,000.
He's still pushing way too fast for me with 4 Offworlds running, though. Like, I could even mutiny one, and it just won't make any bit of a difference in the world. Because food is up at $67 sell price. It's pretty crazy.
Right. Did you take your money and buy into fuel?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so that's how you kind of doubled your money, essentially.
Yep. Experimenting with that old
you've made
strategy.
Use of the. I feel like you've made good use of the hacker array.
Yeah, it just wasn't quite enough this game to deal with the fact that I let my debt hit 200,000 and kill me.
Yeah. And then you had to pay it off.
Yeah, exactly. I got into a situation where I had to pay it off.
It was real money. Yeah, it was real money that you lost, basically.
I mean, I'm sitting on $800,000 right now? No, 600,000. No, he's sitting on 800,000. Mine's dropping like a rock right now. And there it goes. Blues finishes it off. Honestly, I'm surprised I won that first game. It's no big surprise to lose this second one. But as Scavenger, he pulled it off because he actually got to make that off-world transition. He also did go into an engineering lab and made good use of it, buffing up his food production. It's not like the engineering lab isn't usable anymore, probably. It's just not the ridiculous nonsense that it was last time.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very good building. I mean, I do feel like if you're going to build 2 advanced buildings, like one of them probably should be an engineering lab. I guess we'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing how things shake out, once the community gets hold of this patch. I mean, there's nothing really that stands out that's like...
an issue?
Not well, no, what I mean is, Beta 4, obviously the game was changed significantly, right? There was like a whole bunch of new black items. This patch, I don't think there's any single thing that's like, kind of this huge change to the game, but there's a lot of tweaks that make it play out significantly differently.
Well, the tweaks to the engineering lab, some small tweaks to the pleasure dome, at least in visibility, if nothing else. Tweak to the hacker array, tweak to... what was the big one? The black market, just all kinds of little things in there that'll add up to make it really
scientific changes a lot. I mean, no longer having EMP power surge network virus.
Nerf scientific heavily.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. And it was weird because scientific literally did not change. I mean, now they're no longer protected against network virus, but frankly, scientific are kind of naturally protected against network virus as it is. So it's like they didn't change. It was just the map, like the game generation changed, which changed them, and that shows you just how tight balancing can be, right?
Yeah, the auto supply thing. It is interesting. I don't necessarily mind this idea of auto supply turning off for a few seconds while you try and push to I don't know, maybe I do. Because generally speaking, if I'm auto-supplying something, I expect it to be making me money. So if I need that little bit of extra cash for a moment, then it's okay, but I don't know. Maybe even the ability to add that into player options, this idea of selling resources turns off auto-supplying temporarily. Or at least, doing a control-shift down turns auto-supply off for a moment, that kind of thing. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, the thing is, I think I can make it. I think I can make it better. Keep the thing where your money will stay around a little bit, and maybe tweak it so it buys. Because the thing is, it doesn't need to buy a ton of iron, for example. It really needs to only like buy it like 1 unit at a time. And so there should be a middle ground here. I think that works better. So I'll take it. I'll look at this, try to figure out a way to make it a little bit better before we ship.
GameSlayer says auto supply just wasn't working for him at all, but I don't know exactly what the deal is there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's what he's saying. He's just saying it like.
Well, in that situation, it wasn't working, is what he was saying. Yeah. Like in that particular situation, it never turned on. I haven't seen that personally, but it does feel that way sometimes. And you're one of those players who always sells their resources, and you're like constantly making buys and sells throughout the early part of the game. But anyway,
all right, game. So you have to be a little more specific. I'm not quite. Like, you understand that it will not auto supply. The rule is it will not auto supply for 5 seconds after you sell something manually. So, but I'm not quite sure. I just don't understand what he's saying is happening to him. Okay, sure, that's fine. I haven't been able to read your forum post yet, so that's awesome if you've been clear about it there. So it's also very possible that I just introduced a bug in the process of putting this in there. So anyway, I will definitely take a good look at it. So
all right, well, we'll see what happens then.
But I mean, I'm glad I found out about it right now. So this is why it's awesome that everyone is able to try out, the beta 5 a little early. So I appreciate it. So
okay, so you about ready to wrap things up here for today?
Yep. Yeah, I'm gonna have to head off.
Okay.
So, but thanks for streaming, and thanks for watching, everyone. And beta 5 should probably be out sometime next week. And let me know what you guys think of it.
Sounds good. All right, everybody. Go ahead and, by the way, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and plug myself and just be like, I will be streaming tomorrow night at this point. So if anybody wants to try out Beta 5 in some multiplayer games, that would be a good time to go ahead and do it. So if you want to do more Beta 5 multiplayer, go ahead and show up tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. Somebody European can convert that to European time if they care. And that's when we'll be doing some more. But for now, we're going to go ahead and end it. So thank you, everyone, for watching, and I'll see you next time.